Welcome to my studio, Real Recording 1. The last video I posted, you guys put some great comments in. I'm going to touch on a little bit of what was in that, in this video. I was asked, how do you learn to develop, the style or the feel of another musician or a drummer, that makes an impression on you, or something that we're all inspired by other musicians. So how do you pick up on that feel? How do you learn that? And early on, for myself, and I know most of us, I played along to records with headphones on, and part of the pursuit of that was, being very frustrated if I could tell that I was deviating, from what I was hearing. So I would put on headphones and I would set the volume. I would even tune my snare drum in particularly as closely as I could to whatever track, so that I could really find myself close to what was going on with the music and the drummer that I was wanting to play along with. And I would listen as closely as possible. I would memorize every little nuance of an open hi-hat or a grace note on the bass drum or a ghost note on the snare drum, and try to play those things as closely. And this is when you're young and developing, and I believe that's how you pick up your feel. And the more broadly you apply that concept to more drummers and more musicians, you'll pick up a broader and broader range of feel. But for me, that was the way that I learned, and the best way I found. I enjoyed it. I just wanted to play along to this music that I loved, and it's still fun to do that. And there are much cooler tools now to be able to do these things. You can take these tracks that you like and subtract the drums from them and then play along. But I find the best use of that is to actually play along with the drummer. So. I'm going to go into a little bit of that. I'm going to demonstrate some things. I'm going to create some things that if you use screen capture or whatever function you have on your phone or device, and then drop it into some sort of editor. I mean, seemingly everyone has at least GarageBand, so you can take a piece of what I play and you can make a loop out of it. And I'm going to give you some examples where I'm not just playing something very simple, but I'm demonstrating the differences in these interpretations of a straight and shuffle feel, which is part of what I was also asked about. And in continuance with that concept, if there's anything you guys want to hear me get into in a subsequent video, drop it in the comments. That'll help all of this. So basically, I'm going to play something based off that Bo Diddley bass drum pattern, which is it's kind of a blues standard at this point, but you can play it with completely straight 16ths. You can play it fully swung. Now, what I mean by that, I'll demonstrate. So if you're following along, most of you, I'm sure, understand. But 16th notes being, very straight. 1, 2, 3. So that's a very rigid, straight version of that same tempo, a triplet-based, shuffle groove, first and last note of a triplet being. Okay, and then if I play that along with the bass drum in both iterations, I'll kind of go back and forth. 16th first. Okay, and so then I'll introduce a little bit more of that in-between feel, that second line kind of feel, which is, more of what I was playing in the introduction to this video. I'll go in between. So if you have just a hi-hat, I'll go through them. So that's kind of going in and out of those feels. And I'll do some of that with the bass drum, snare drum approach, and go in and out of that as well. And then after, I'll give you some longer passages of a simplified thing that if you want to take and make a loop, you can. Some guys ask me about that in between version of that feel. And then the straighter, traditional swung triplet. So there again, there's going in and out of those different feels. Richie Hayward, Little Feat, the meters. There's all kinds of great examples of that New Orleans-based shuffle. But sometimes it can be difficult to find a tool, where you can really lock in on what's going on. You're trying to decipher what's going on inside the track. All I can tell you is as I developed that particular feel over the years, it's a sense I get inside my muscles where I feel like my body is stretching in a certain way and it's not really working against itself, but it's maybe pushing against itself, but in a comfortable way. And I enjoy that feel quite a lot. So at this point, if you're checking it out, I'm going to play simplified patterns, enough measures that if you want to take this, screen capture it, drop it into something and make a longer loop, it'll be a good exercise if you just want to get a sense of what my feel in time is in these examples, in these situations, based off the drummers that influenced me, which is, Jeff Porcaro in these situations, Richie Hayward, John Bonham, Bernard Purdy. There's too many to list. They're all, Andy Newmark and Jim Keltner. I mean, everybody. The list is long, but this be something that you can use to just feel what's going on with the right hand. So I'll give you straight 16ths first for a bit with just that simple pattern. The hi-hat thing is it's all about dynamics and treating those, the inside note ranges, the distance in those volumes and the physical distance, and have a look, at my wrist and how the stick's moving, because I paid close attention to Jeff Porcaro and James Gadsden, and guys that I really liked the way their one-hand hi-hat patterns felt, So yeah, so you can play along to this stuff. I'll give you the 16th straight feel first. Okay, so there's enough of that you can work with, and I'll give you some of the shuffle, the triplet-based shuffle. Okay, so there's the basically, more strict triplet-based version of that. And so now that in between, New Orleans-based feel. Okay, so there's a few lengthy passages there of each version of what that can be, and you can see that just based on swing, the degrees of swing, there's so much different expression in those basically same patterns, same bass drum patterns, backbeat just on beat 4, and then when you get into that second line. And so if you play around with those basic patterns and get that feel, you get used to what that middle ground is, hopefully that can be a tool that you guys can use to, if you don't already have an understanding or a comfort with that feel, maybe you can play along to those phrases, and then you can see, when you get into larger complex use of the drum kit, soloing and different things out of that feel, it's a very expressive, there's so much you can do with time, and without getting on a rant here, it's a bit of what I feel is getting lost. It's part of the reason I wanted to get into doing some of these videos, just so that there's some explanation maybe and demonstration of how to find your way to that, because so much music being made now, it doesn't represent anything that actually happens in the hands of a musician. So if you're using music as a listening tool to try to develop your playing, or even the process of how records and most recording is done these days, you're going to miss the not just the opportunity, but even the possibility at all to find access to these rhythms that predate all this technology that's sort of come in and interrupted the conversation of what can be done with rhythm. So I would encourage you, to check these examples out. Hopefully that's helpful. Like I say, things are so easy to get your hands on now to learn. Take this, take this, screen capture it, and loop it with the simplest thing you can find. You can do it so easily, and you can play along with some of that right hand example stuff. And if you're learning your way into these different feels, even just the 16th stuff, the way that feels, it's nice to have something isolated to play along to. You can hear yourself, against what I'm doing. And that's what I did. That's how I learned. I heard what I liked, and then I played along until I could feel my hand, wrist and hand and fingers lining up to what I was hearing, and then of course you can never really emulate someone's playing. That you get to the point where that's the last thing you want to be thinking about. But it is how you learn and you develop your own feel. So, but it does. I'll just say when to reiterate, for my part, I wasn't hard on myself, but I could not escape what I heard. I knew when it was not what I wanted it to be, and I just kept working. And there, especially when it comes to Jeff Porcaro and guys like that, there's definitely some work in here that's going on that's uniquely different than some other drummers. It's the range of movement and these muscles that can give you that lilt, and it's and so if you play along to something that's doing it, you'll feel right away like, oh man, maybe there's some, even for me, having been off the road for a month or so now, some of my muscles are just atrophied a bit because it's just hard to keep that up if you're not playing 2.5 hours a night. So it's work, but there you go. There's a little bit of a look into how I developed my feel, which was playing along to records I liked, really trying to make myself disappear into the headphones and just feel like I was at one with what I was listening to. And then there's some examples of how to, that shuffle, moving in and out of that 16th to that full triplet-based swing feel, and in between, really covers a lot of ground. So if you can get your head around that and get your hand cooperating and get to where you can play the nuance in between those three feels, then there's endless possibilities of the kind of feeling you can communicate to the listener. Ultimately, that's what we want to do as drummers, to bring a feel of our own to music, into a room with other musicians and an audience. You want to impress upon them a certain feeling. And one thing about that, you know, that in between and those, when you stress and pull and push on the, you know, on the lines and of subdivision, and you make those things your own, and you sort of abuse it, if you will. Sometimes there's an intention and an expression that you're giving the listener, and whether they play a musical instrument or not, they can feel the message. So it's important to develop that those different nuances of rhythm as deeply as you can. We'll get into something on another video that is new to me, that is really one of the most fascinating things for me, and it's more of a Moroccan based, instead of, you know, I'll give you a brief blow-by, instead of So, you know, there's a whole world out there in traditional rhythms. Not, you know, no knock on it, but it's not like that broken drum machine, trip hop, skip hop stuff that, you know, that's mechanical. This is something that's, you know, that beat in particular is very, very old and deep in the human DNA. So anyway, hope you dig this video. Throw some comments down there. I'm reading all of them, and I'm going to get into a better groove with getting these things out here. And I'll check the comments out. I'm going to leave some information in the description, some links. Huge deal for me is my band, my project, Renegade Roach, with Judson McKinney, who spent the last 3 years of my life working with him and writing these tunes, and we're making a big push right now. So jump over to our YouTube channel, Renegade Roach. There's some great tunes up there. Our merchandise, this shirt right here, and some other great stuff is on our shop, renegaderoach.com. So anything you grab there will be a big help. Hope you dig it. Check out the music. Like this stuff. Share it. It'll help as I continue to put these things out. Put your comments in there. Everything is appreciated. I see the kind words are greatly appreciated from you guys. And I hope this is, you know, I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope that it can help you in developing these fields. Okay, I'll catch you next time.